Hello everyone, this is Jeremiah Hunt with another tutorial for the Tutorial Brothers, and today I'm going to be going over how to make a 3D photograph in Photoshop and After Effects. Photoshop is going to create the main 3D effect, and in After Effects I am going to add some motion to the photos that we've messed with. So let's jump right in. I'm using Photoshop CS6. I'm just going to go ahead and click Control O. I'm going to make sure I'm in Photoshop first. I'm going to hit Control O, open up a photo. And obviously right now this needs to get cropped. There's a bunch of junk back here, so I'm just going to grab the crop tool in here and drag it this way. Brilliant. Right there. I'm going to hit V and Alt zoom wheel. There we go. So essentially what you need for a good 3D photograph is, well, mostly you don't want twigs up here, but that'll, oh well. But the biggest part to creating a good 3D photograph is the detail you pay to each, well, it's just the detail that you give it. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut Jonathan out, and I'm going to save him with a transparent background. Then I'm going to cut myself out and save me as a transparent background. And what that's going to do for us is when I run it into Photoshop, I'm also going to save the background. I'm going to run it into Photoshop, scale him up just a tad, and scale me up just a tad, and add a very slight camera motion going up this way, and move Jonathan sideways this way and me kind of this way, and you'll see it's really cool. So first off, what we're gonna need to grab is this is the way I do it. I'm gonna grab the pen tool. You could use the lasso tool. It just takes a whole lot more detail. It's tougher. You're gonna end up spending a lot of your time doing this and then holding shift down and adding more like this. I'm gonna hit Control D to undo that, hit V. I prefer the pen tool because I can grab this, I can zoom in, I can click and let go, and I can do whatever I want. And then once I'm done with my selection, I can right click, make selection, and then we have our marching ants. I'm going to hit Control D. We're going to start this off right now by doing that to Jonathan. I'm just going to trace around him. Like I said, pay attention to detail. I'm not going to film myself doing all this because it's so stinking time consuming. And when I get to an interesting part like this, I'll be right back. So what you do is you're just going to click. I'm just going to start at a good spot here. Find a good spot. What's a good spot? Maybe his hand, or his hand's a good spot right here. It's a great spot. Maybe not. Yes, it is. I'm going to start right here and just trace around him. Click and drag to create curves. Like so. Because we're scaling it up, I can actually cut very slightly into Jonathan himself. As you can see, there's a slight fade here. I can come in like this and cut whoops, that's a bad point. Control Z. I can cut into his skin, so to speak. Because we'll be zooming him out, you're not going to see that slight outline of his skin or shirt or whatever. So yeah, I'll be right back as soon as I'm done tracing Jonathan. Alright, I've fully traced over Jonathan, and I am about to make the selection. Right now I'm going to double click here on the background and click OK. And now that I have a full selection all the way around him, as you can see, it took a lot of time. I would suggest putting a lot of time into doing this. The more time the better. I'm going to right click and hit selection. And I don't want feather, I want a new selection. I'm going to hit OK. I made a new, I double clicked on this to make it a new layer because you can't remove anything or subtract anything from the actual background. When it says background, you can't take anything from that. It's a locked layer. So one thing I do want to show you guys is right here on his hands. I don't think there's any other openings like this, no. But right here on his hands, you can see there's a gap. You can see stuff through it. You can see the junk behind us. So what you're going to do is you're going to, as if you're making a new selection, you're just going to select that gap as if you're doing normal. And I'm just not going to put much time into this because it's on camera. I'm going to right click and then make selection. Now here, this is where it happens. You're just going to subtract from selection because as you can see the selection that's inside of our original selection. So removing this will take the background away. I'm going to click OK. As you can see, it's only been added. Nothing else happened. So that's how you get rid of anything like this. And this, I'm going to do that really quickly here. And you can do that all in one stroke. I'll show you. Click selection like this. Hold Control and zoom wheel across. Just grab this stuff here. Now right click, make selection. Subtract from selection 0 feather pixels. And I'm going to zoom out by holding Alt on the scroll wheel. There we go. Alright, so now, excuse me, with this layer selected, I'm going to hit V just so I have my default. I'm going to type Control-Shift-J. That will duplicate the selection onto a new layer. You could just barely see a little bit of a outline there. Now I'm going to turn the background off. As you can see, I now have Jonathan. And his laces. This will just add quality. If I turn this one on and this one off, he's missing. Now what we're going to do is, in After Effects, we're going to end up doing something like this. We're going to end up scaling him up and down in both instances. And basically scaling him up to his size to where this stuff all disappears. Or something along that idea, that general idea, basically. Also, another thing you could do is you can Control-C. You can copy it, and then Control-Shift-V, and then when you scale it, you get a little bit of duplication, as you see. So this is why I prefer the Control-Shift-J. Uh-oh. I do not have that selection anymore. There it is. Control-Shift-J gives us a new layer. And now I'm going to turn Jonathan off. I'm going to make a selection here with the lasso tool, just roughly around his body. Like so. I'm going to hold Shift, add another bit right down here. Alright, and now I'm going to do... Never mind, just kidding. Alright, so now that we have him, I'm going to trace around me, or I guess just for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll just leave it to Jonathan. Okay, so first I'm going to turn this off, the background off. I'm going to type Control-Shift-S. That will save as, I'm going to click here, I'm going to save it as a PNG. If you save it as a .jpeg, you will lose the transparency, so saving it as a PNG will leave the transparency. So, I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm going to save this as Johnny Runs. Self-explanatory. Smallest, slow. Compression. Don't want compression into list. Okay, just click OK. I don't think it matters. I'm going to turn him off. Open this one up. I don't believe we need to save this background because I have the... Yes, we do. We do need to save this background because I do not have the original image. I totally forgot to duplicate the original picture. I apologize profusely. I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to take Control-Z, Control-D, Control-S, or let's do this. Duplicate that. There we go. Since we already have the Johnny layer, I'm going to turn this off. Control-Shift-S. Save this as a PNG as well, just to keep stuff. I'm going to name this background. I spelt that wrong. Who cares? Alright, now we are going to open up After Effects. I should have loaded this beforehand. I apologize. And we're going to wait. And wait. And wait. And while we wait for this to load, I will tell you guys that this image, if you want, will be available for download in the description. This full image without the crop. Oh, hey, look, it loaded. Right when I was in the middle of talking. Okay, so it's going to be available for download if you want to follow directly along, although I would suggest getting your own photos, because eventually, at some point, you might possibly get in trouble for using somebody else's. Not ours, mind you, but somebody else's. So either take your own or find some using the Creative Commons license on Google. So I'm going to hit New Composition. None of this really matters. I'm just going to click OK. It matters right now, at least. I'm going to go Project, double click in here, and I'm going to grab the pictures. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to grab the, did I say that? Yes, there it is, background. Actually, I'm going to rename that just because I'm OCD. I'm going to hold Control, click both of those, click Open, Alright, now that we have that, I'm going to drag background down here to this little button right here. That will create a new composition that's exactly the same everything as you get the picture. Pun totally not intended. Okay, so now that we have Jonathan here, I'm going to grab... Oh, man, I really wish I kept the... Oh well. We're going to grab Jonathan, drag him in here, and I'm going to drag... Alright, there we go. Brilliant. I'm going to scale Johnny up. I'm going to come down here, and then just drag these. Hold shift, drag these up a little bit. Oops. That didn't work, did it? Make sure you let go of the mouse button before you hit enter. There we go. Alright, I really don't like that doubling. Actually, that doubling is going to add a lot. We are going to leave that doubling there, and you will see why in just one hot second. I'm going to take Jonathan here, and I'm going to... First, I'm going to bring this up a bit, just because I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to hit this arrow here. No, yes, I'm going to hit S on here with the cursor at the beginning. This is in After Effects, by the way, After Effects CS6. I'm going to hit this button here, this scale. Now, as the time goes on, I'd say maybe 4, 5, 6 seconds. I'm going to scale him up just a bit. Drag this, hold shift, scale him up just a bit, and move him to the side just a bit, like that. There we go. So as you can see, I'm not going to zoom in. I'm just going to do this. And I press play. There is very gradual movement that will create a... This is more for like a credits sequence. I'm going to come up to 10 seconds, and just because I like to, I'm going to go like this. Just kidding. Alright, now we're going to take the original background, and as he is moving, we are going to move it with him. So we're going to hit the P on your keyboard, hit the, make sure you're at the beginning, hit the timer. Well, first let's scale it up just a touch as well. Just a tad. So we have a little bit of leeway. Actually, I'm going to scale it up a bit. Scale it up to, whoops, I apologize. Scale it up to match. Essentially the same. There we go. Match it like that. We are going to bring it up here. Oh, sorry. We're going to hit position, bring it all the way over here. We're going to add even less movement on the camera, but we are going to add negative movement to the camera. We are going to make it go this way, because our character is running this way. Now, this is where the actual effect of the awesomeness comes in. I'm going to add a blur to the background, so it looks like when Johnny runs, you get a stretching effect. You'll see in just a second. Actually, that background, I might not want to move it so much. I'm going to drag this. I'm going to delete that keyframe. Come back here, make the position a little bit less, just so it's not as drastic and you don't see his teeth. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to add a blur effect to the background. I'm going to go Effect, Blur and Sharpen. Oh, there's so many blurs. Camera lens blur. And that will add a pretty cool blur. I'm going to go ahead and add a blur radius. Fairly large blur radius. Not too large, mind you. Roundedness, aspect ratio. Ooh, rotation. What does that do? I haven't messed with this forever. Okay, I should probably stop messing with these. Okay, we're just going to leave it at basically that after we set the blur radius to about, what is that, 15? Yeah, about 15. Just come up here. I cannot type. 15. Alright. We're going to add another blur, a motion blur. First, let me just do that real quick. Just because I can. With the background still selected, I'm going to add another blur, which is a Gaussian blur, I believe. Blurring this up just a tad, and that should do it. As you can see, if I hit play, you get a slight stretching effect. Now, I believe there's one more thing I wanted to do to this. I'm going to type here, I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to bring this up just a bit. Let's see, was there anything I wanted to do here? Nope, I believe that's it. Awesome. Alright, so that's how you do a 3D image in After Effects and Photoshop. To render this out, you'd hit no, not to save. Well, I'm going to save it first. Always save your work. I'm going to do, let's see, what is it? It's in composition. You know what? First, I'm going to grab this thing here, the work area, drag it all the way down to just a little bit past 6 seconds. Yeah, that's when it stops. Yeah. Drag it there, right click here, trim comp to work area, file, composition. Where is it? I haven't used After Effects in a while. Wow. Let's see, where's Make Movie? Maybe it's not an After Effects. Okay. So maybe it's in Save As then. Add to render queue. Oh, that's okay, yes. Composition, add to render queue. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not feeling it today. Okay, render queue. Make sure everything here is what you like. I'm going to set my output. I'm going to click output 2. I'm just going to put in my videos. Chase thing. I don't think it matters. Okay. Now, like I've said before, or I haven't said this before, but one thing you do want to keep in mind is that the more detailed it is, the more difficult it's going to be to get a good-looking image. I probably bit off more than I could, more than what would look great. I would suggest going with a little bit less of this, and a little bit more of maybe doing the car in the background. But for now, this works just great for what I was looking for. I am actually going to add a very light Gaussian blur to Johnny because he is moving. Just a very slight blur. Never mind. Just kidding. I'm not going to. So after you have it in the render queue, make sure it's output to whichever folder you like. Make sure your settings are everything you like. I'm just going to leave it default. And then hit render. And it's done. Get blasted by the sound effect and it's done. I'm just going to open up my Explorer here, make sure it's done to what I like. And my computer's just going to run super slow for a second. Alright, videos, that's where I saved it as. And which one is it? Chase thing. Here it is. And we're going to wait some more. That looks pretty awesome. Yep. So just imagine like super inspirational music going on past this, and then his name just slicing across the top. Okay, that is it, folks. I will be, well, I guess I should just say, take care. Don't do anything too rough. Feel free to send us any of these photos that you do, and yeah, so take care again, and I will be seeing you guys again soon. So yeah, God bless. I'll see you next time.